Miss Marietta's Memory Music, written by Debbie Pinella, illustrated by Joy Almonacci. It's raining in Jerry. The sun won't break through. I'm stuck inside with nothing to do. No one to see, nowhere to be. It makes me feel alone and blue.
My name is Debbie Pinella, and I am the author of Miss Marietta's Memory Music, as well as the cellist on the recording.
My name is Joy Almonacci, and I am the illustrator for the book.
Hi, I'm Alexa Hughes, and I'm a narrator for Miss Marietta's Memory Music.
Hello, my name is Marietta Simpson, and it feels so pretentious to say I'm inspiration for a book, but I'm Miss Marietta.
Hello, my name is Matthew Rorick, and I play the tenor saxophone on Memory Book.
Hi, I'm Maggie Olivo, and I play the violin.
Hello, my name is Jamie Dubberly, and this is the trombone.
Hi, my name is Phil, and I play the clarinet.
I'm Victoria, and I play the harp.
Hi, my name is Brian McNulty, and I'm a percussionist.
Hi, my name's August Fackler. I go to the Jacob School of Music, and I do film composition and things. And for this project, I wrote music for the wonderful story, and I played some of the guitar that you'll hear in the recordings, and I was just trying to help the project come to life.
Miss Marietta's Memory Music is written from the perspective of a young girl who is stuck inside. And it could be because of illness or bad weather or just being really far apart from somebody that she misses. So I wanted to write a story that explores ways to combat these sad, bored, or frustrated feelings. So the girl is able to use pictures from a memory book as a catalyst for her imagination to take herself to more exciting environments.
First, I read through it for myself, and I just kind of thought of what images came to mind immediately as I was reading through each stanza, I guess we could call them. Yeah. And then from there, I was like, I guess I should start sketching it out. So I started to write down all my ideas, and I actually wrote it down with words first. So let's say a line had something to do with giraffes. I wrote giraffes, as something I wanted to be in the illustration. Definitely it had to be in there. And then from there, I kind of played around with where I wanted each thing to be and how I wanted it to look, what kind of style I wanted to go, if I wanted to go more realistic looking or more cartoonish. And then for my medium, that actually took me a while to figure out. I visited Miss Bogan, and she let me borrow a whole bunch of different mediums, including India ink, acrylic ink, and I tried color pencil. I also tried alcohol markers, Copic markers they're called. I tried that, and then finally I settled on watercolor just because it was the easiest to use, and I was able to really cover a lot of my page almost in a more natural way versus how acrylic ink or acrylic paint works, where you have to really focus on doing the details. Watercolor is just very easy and it flows very easily, so I was just able to go with how I felt.
So whenever I approach any kind of multimedia project, I try and communicate closely with the people who are putting together, so in this case Debbie, and just doing my best to realize and add to what they're trying to create as much as possible. Normally when you write music for something that has more parts, you don't want the music to encompass everything. So I wanted to make sure I was representing the ideas, and in this case, the story is very charming, and just trying to highlight different aspects of it and making sure that I brought in the elements of the different instruments and things that were really core to the story, and introducing the kids to the new ideas and things. And it was just kind of starting from there, and then just trying to pick some nice sounds that would convey them really well.
I wanted the girl in the story and children who read the story to think about how they connect with their various environments. What does it look like? What does it sound like? what does the air smell and taste like? And how do I feel when I'm here? Senses and the arts can help connect you with your environment. And I wanted to experiment with that in a fun way.
On all of those things, like pretty recently, including the whale watching like little environment. I've been whale watching multiple times on like ferries off the coast of like Massachusetts and like Cape Cod. So I've done that, and then camping. My family loves to camp. Honestly, I'm not that much of a fan of it, but like I still do it anyways. So I was very familiar with like pitching tents and stuff like that. And like what you do, roasting s'mores, it was very natural for me. In the beach, because I live on the East Coast, we go to the beach very often, like at least twice a week, especially in the summer, year round, always at the beach. And then the other environment, the park. Very classic, just a good place to go.
Environments are particular in the way that, like, just because we're used to certain feelings that we'll associate, for example, like the fields or the rain won't be really violent and loud sounding. So it's more of like trying to take what people like naturally feel in those kind of places and what they would expect, and just and then taking the freedom you have to wiggle around in there and just reflect the emotions you get from it, and then add a little bit of your own kind of thing so it has some character.
You know those commercials where somebody's walking down the street and all of a sudden, you know, they're hearing the rain and then they're singing a song in the rhythm of whatever they're hearing. It might seem like a cliche, but I sort of feel like that is the vibration that musicians and artists probably live their entire lives with, which is why we tend to be so affected by everything that happens in the world, because we tend to be really very empathetic. We listen, we feel the vibrations, we feel the rhythms, we pick up on everything, because that's what's necessary for us to create art.
So overall, my color palette, I wanted it to be very vivid and playful. I didn't really want any super dark colors, and if they were going to be dark, I wanted to make them still like bright. I know that's an oxymoron, but like if you think about the page where they're outside roasting s'mores, like that dark blue, I didn't want it to be like closer to black. I wanted it to be a little bit brighter, so this way it fit with the rest of the color palette of the entire book. And so for those environments, I kind of made it almost exaggerated in a way. Like you could see that the sky is very unrealistically like bright blue, and that was intentional. And then also the greens for the grass and the trees, also very bright, almost close to like neon greens. But all of that was intentional, and I really liked how it turned out. I think it really gave it a more playful vibe than if I used more realistic colors.
At the beginning of the story, we have like this rainy day, and it's a little more melancholy. So what I would try to do to like emulate like rain is I have all the instruments playing these little droplet like notes. You can imagine like the noises the instruments are playing are almost like little water droplets that are happening. So there's like a little scatter of little sounds and things, and I try and make sure that they don't sound too harsh or anything, sort of like a rainstorm. You know, most people think rainstorms are pretty relaxing. And just try and emulate that a little bit, so that's like the instruments are kind of creating a little bit of a rain that goes behind when she's talking about her beginning of her little day. So
my idea was to have the arc of the story going from this dreary feeling to a contented and happy feeling, but for the change to really come from inside the girl, through the process of her using her imagination and being creative. Though the book does travel to other places, it's really only through her memories. So this girl is actually in the same location throughout the entire story. I thought it was important to show how a situation can change depending just on your perspective and attitude. And I think that also the music and artwork really showed this brilliantly.
because a lot of it looks similar, like the background is practically the same, it was all about how I portrayed the girl. So I wanted to make sure that her facial expression, which isn't shown in the beginning, in the first drawing at the window, she has her back facing, I guess what you would call the audience. So I made sure that her facial expression at the other end was very happy, and that her body language is very open, and that you could visibly see that, like, oh, something has definitely changed. This is a change of like attitude from not only the girl but the book as a whole. It kind of slowly goes through like an arc where you realize, like, oh, look at all these things that happened and what a good time we had with Miss Marietta.
So what I tried to do is just to make sure that there's like a through line, or you can recognize things at the beginning and the end, is there's like little melodies and elements that I try and keep consistent throughout. So you'll hear it at the beginning like, ah, and then when you can hear it at the end, you'll be like, I recognize that, but I can then, since you already know what that is, I can bring you back to that beginning moment, but like shape it differently. And you can be like, have happier sounds or whatever context I need to put it in at the end. And then that way you can get kind of like it feels consistent, sort of like referencing the beginning of a story, but you can get like a very different kind of feeling at the end.
At the beginning, when it's rainy and dreary, I play the melody in a melancholy way, like this. At the end, when the sun comes out, I play the melody again in a much more upbeat and energetic way.
Whenever there's animals possibly referenced in the story, I try and there's certain things that instruments can do that make funny noises that like can imitate animals and things. For example, there's a saxophone that makes kind of like a howly kind of noise in the middle.
The wolf howl.
Timberwolves howl while lion cubs clash.
And there's like these little sounds of like water when we're leaving the beach, and it's just these little brushes, like little metal brushes that you can put on top of a drum, and when you slide them across the top of the drum, it makes this kind of whooshy, kind of watery sound. And you can hear like halfway through a cello making some high-pitched noises that give you like this kind of whale songy effect.
I get to use harmonics and play whale sounds. As I wrote the story, I really enjoyed trying to find words that created a connection with the feeling of the different environments and enhance that connection. I think words can create the feeling of movement or playfulness or contentment. I really think words themselves just have so much music in them. They can express much more than just a linear accounting of what's happening. Literature can do that through words, music does that, visual arts, and I really love the way that all those elements came together in this project.
Strum, strummy, strum, strum, strum became da-da-da-da-dum, da-dum.
But in the story, at a certain point, there's a line that I was trying to incorporate so that it like connected to the story, where she's like strum, strummy, strum, strum, strum. And I was trying to think of like a natural way that, but like still kind of fun and energetic, that I could take that phrase and turn it into some music. So what I just did is I thought, well, that's a nice rhythm. The And I was thinking, well, that's really pleasant. I can almost have that just kind of like a driving sound in the background that the other instruments can like kind of participate in, and it kind of like when she would say it, it would echo, and it'd almost be like the story's interacting with like the storyteller.
Through that, I was trying to picture like what kind of movement would that be, like with human anatomy or also for animals as well. So I felt like some of the sounds were a little bit sharper, like rat-a-tat-tat. That's something that's like the movement, it would be more rigid. It's not going to be as flowing as something like I don't know, like Z-bop, baloo bop. Even the way it sounds, you could like get a picture of what that would look like. For me, that would be something like more rounded.
Really, they are absolutely beautiful. And like Debbie said, they have so much life. There's so much movement in them.
So one of the challenges with this project was that it was done virtually. Most of the people involved still haven't met. So there's a challenge with communicating artistic vision and making a cohesive final product. And for instance, Joy, before you drew these beautiful illustrations, you had never met Miss Marietta. So it was really interesting to see how you portrayed what was supposed to be just a really close and special relationship between yourself, or really a younger self, and Miss Marietta. I think is a great example of how you can take your own experiences and apply them to different circumstances. You were definitely incredibly successful, because when I look at these illustrations, I just see so much warmth between the characters.
First, I looked up some images of her. So that's definitely some perks about her being very influential in her field. I was able to find a lot of pictures. I was even able to find some videos. And also, I listened to the Zin 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 violin. Is that what it's called? Yes. I listened to that and I was able to see her there and the way she spoke. Everything about her, it kind of reminded me a little bit of my grandma, like in a good way. And so through that, I was able to think about my relationship with my grandma, and we were very close. So I kind of just pictured it like I was drawing her and I was drawing myself. So in the way, like I would put them together with their body language, like very close, because I know my grandma and I, we were very comfortable with each other. It was nothing like awkward. I was able to just be with her and be myself and not be like self-conscious of anything I was doing. So in that same way, that's how I portrayed the little girl in Miss Marietta.
Just the mirroring of their body language, the grandmother and, Miss Marietta, not grandmother, because I see my grandchildren in this book, just so you know. But Miss Marietta and the child, their body language is so similar. It's just a beautiful kind of loving gesture, between the two of them. I really like that very much, really.
The musicians were never in the same location. Their parts were recorded in their homes or studios, wherever they happened to be across the country. It worked, but the sad thing for me is that we didn't get to sit together and make music. And in my opinion, that's one of the best parts of making music, is the interaction. But despite that, it really was a fun project to work on as a musician. August wrote a fantastic, fun score for us to play. There were great melodies and interesting ways we got to use our instruments with extended techniques to create unique sounds for the story. He also gave us some leeway to be creative, from ad-libbing and making choices with the repeated raindrop patterns at the beginning to a completely improvised solo by the trombonist.
In the music that the composer wrote for this piece, they put a trombone solo in it, and my instructions were sliding, think about elephants. So in this part of the piece, I improvise my solo based on what it said in my music. And it said, think about elephants and sliding. And when I thought sliding, I thought, well, it sounds like the trombone, because of this slide, I can change the length of the instrument and do a glissando like that.
Elephants trumpeted and improvisation. A Z-bop, loop bop inspiration. Hyenas giggled, reptiles wriggled, sliding and gliding, a dancing creation.
I think there's so much value in this type of exploration. and it manifests itself differently for different people. Joy talked about hearing words with shapes, and I do the same thing in a way with music. I hear music in everything that I experience. And if there's already music, then my mind is making up harmonies or creating rhythms. So I think that is certainly a way in which experience with the arts adds depth to how you live. And sometimes just being able to tap into those creative impulses, to have more awareness of different ways to experience things, being open to new possibilities. I think that translates to interaction with people as well. Those things really do influence our whole perspective of how we interact with our world and our environment, with people and with life.
Well, it's nice to expose children to those kind of things. It would have been nice to, I would have loved to have more opportunities like that when I was younger to introduce them to
Agreed.
things like that.
So I think that is, in fact, how we experience life, because the music, for me, touches a place that's so deeply inside me that I sometimes have to monitor myself that I am not being a drama queen. But truthfully, I like that about myself. I like that I can feel that. I like that I can feel pain. I like that stuff touches me. I like that I can listen to a song and it really moves me, you know, and it can be in any genre. I like that I can look at a book and think, oh my God, look at that drawing, or stand before a great piece of art and think, how in the world did somebody do that? You know, and really like look around the room. Can you see that? Oh my God, how did somebody do that? And then I come home with a paintbrush and it looks like, you know, a 2-year-old. I think, yeah, well, that's not my gift. Okay. But, you know, the eternal pursuit of beauty and expression and art. I mean, like, that's such an incredible thing.
Along with everything that Miss Marietta said, artists and musicians, like all kinds of artists, they have this kind of awareness and openness that's different from any other kind of person, like, because art, music, all of it, it's so diverse, and you have to be able to be open to all kinds of people and experiences in a way that other fields of interest are just, it's like just not the same. In art, anyone could create art. Is it always going to be good? No, but everyone could create art, and and for music as well, everyone could create music. So it's very, I feel like the environment is just so diverse that you have to be open to all kinds of experiences, if that makes any sense. Yeah. I say, like, try everything. Like how I was talking about the mediums earlier, how I tried so many different things. I have literal like stacks of paper to this day sitting around somewhere in my room that has all of the attempts I made. I remember one day I drew the same picture over 5 times to try different mediums. You really just need to give everything a try to see what works for you. Don't get too set in something. I originally wanted to do it in acrylic, but then I realized it was a little unrealistic. And after I painted that one picture in acrylic, I was like, I don't really like how it looks. So it was nice to go back to the drawing board and be able to try again and know that, like, it's okay, it's not binding. When you're the illustrator, it's really like on you. It's about what you want to do. It was very nice to have so much freedom like that, because for me in the past, art, I've been doing it mostly at school. I do it for myself here at home as well. But like for big projects, I do them at school, and there's a lot of hard guidelines and it's kind of restricting. But for this illustration project, I really was able to enjoy myself and do what I really wanted to.
Art should be a vehicle for other people. If it's just for ourselves, then it's not doing what it should be doing, right? It's like a great expression for us. We get to be the vehicle for it, but it should be doing something for somebody else.
This was such a fun project. I got to work with so many incredible creative individuals in a variety of ways, and hopefully it will be of value to others and encourage them to explore and experiment, creating or recreating environments with words and images and music. I guess that the moral of the story for me is just stated in the final note from Miss Marietta.
All of our adventures, the sights and the sounds, are always inside of you. That means you are never alone and should never be bored. Close your eyes and paint the picture. Feel the beat and move your feet to the music you create from your memories. Love, Miss Marietta.
Your artwork is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
It really is. I'm so impressed that you have that kind of gift.
Thank you so much.
Really. See, I'm fangirling.
Saxophone is quite a fun instrument to play because in addition to getting to play really nice melodies that you might hear, we can make sounds like rain falling on a window.
We could be something falling, like a rock hitting another rock.
Create seagull cries with harmonics way up high.
Percussionists get to hit things, scrape things, shake things, you name it. And a lot of the instruments we make imitate sounds that we hear in real life.
The creaking of a door.
Without even playing notes, we could make our saxophone sound like the ocean.
I really like this activity because it was really fun and it kind of made me feel like I was a movie star because we were in this sound booth and it was all black with just this little tiny skinny line that was a light, and I was like, and that's it.
The trombone is the only brass instrument that can do that, and that kind of sound is used in the music called jazz. And so when I improvised my solo in this piece, I thought about jazz. I thought about composers and band leaders like Duke Ellington, who was one of the great American composers, and I thought also about elephants because the trombone is typically associated with, can make a sound like an elephant also. I didn't make that sound in my solo though, but I thought about it, and I also thought about sliding, and I thought about playing jazz. So that's what I was thinking about when I played this piece of music.
I also liked the really funny things that I had said, like how I said that there are some hard words for a children's book, like this hard sentence, I should say. Elephants trumpeted an improvisation. A Z-bop, bloop bop, inspiration. Elephants trumpeted an improvisation. A Z-bop,